Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Octa research team says they're seeing a continuous decrease in the country's COVID-19 cases. Octa research fellow Guido David says the numbers in NCR are very close to reaching the threshold for a very low-risk classification from the current low-risk status. With this, David says a further de-escalation to alert level 0 may be possible. Under this classification, the COVID-19 threat will be considered like an ordinary infection, like the flu, tuberculosis, or even dengue.
We hope that even as we de-escalate to alert level 0, that somehow we'll still have some, minimum public health standards in place in certain areas, because the numbers are good right now in the Philippines, but they remain high in our Asian neighbors. The pandemic is not yet over internationally.
Malacanang has finally allowed colleges and universities to have 100% capacity for face-to-face classes. But this doesn't mean that online classes are out, as universities still have the right to choose their own learning modalities. Jenny Don has the details.
Malacanang says colleges and universities are now allowed to have 100% capacity under Alert Level 1. But there's a caveat, only those who are fully vaccinated will be allowed to go to school.
Pinapayagan na rin ang pagkakaroon ng limited face-to-face classes sa kolehiyo o higher educational institutions or mas kilala bilang HEIs sa mga lugar na nasa Alert Level 1. Tanging fully vaccinated teaching, non-teaching at students ang pinapayagan sa lugar. Habang flexible learning modalities naman para sa unvaccinated or partially vaccinated students.
Despite this, colleges are still free to choose best learning modality depending on their situation. The government says universities and colleges should assess their own reopening capability and to seek assistance from their LGUs.
It is in the discretion of the HEIs to choose which learning modalities should they operationalize, as long as there will be continuity of learning.
Under IATF Resolution 164, students older than 21 years old who will participate in face-to-face classes should be covered by PhilHealth or any medical insurance to cover any possible expense caused by COVID-19. Those aged 21 years old and below are advised to become dependents of their parents or legal guardians' insurance. Meanwhile, the Education Department says it's still not possible for elementary and high schools to conduct 100% face-to-face classes. Currently, around 6,122 out of more than 40,000 public schools have started conducting face-to-face classes in the country. DepEd says the safety of students is of paramount consideration and that they will only implement 100% face-to-face classes upon instruction of the President. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine is showing no signs of de-escalation. For now, Reuters reports that Ukraine has started using the facial recognition technology of the U.S. startup Clearview AI to uncover Russian assailants. In an exclusive report, Reuters says Ukraine is receiving free access to the facial recognition platform's powerful search engine for faces. This allows authorities to potentially vet people of interest at checkpoints, among other uses. And Clearview offered this assistance to Kiev in what it calls a special operation following Russia's invasion. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky reported that almost 13,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since the start of the invasion. He also noted in a video message that Ukrainians will continue to defend themselves.
Майже 13 тисяч убитих окупантів за 18 днів. Це вже більше, ніж в обох чеченських війнах. Росія втратила тисячі одиниць військової техніки. Вони втратили 74 літаки, 86 гелікоптерів. Ми розуміємо, що у них є ще, але ми розуміємо, що і ми будемо захищатись далі.
U.S. President Joe Biden, meanwhile, told Democratic lawmakers that World War III will not be fought in Ukraine, as Putin's invasion will not be victorious. He, however, did not discount this possibility, repeating his vow to protect every inch of NATO territory from Russian aggression.
Putin's war against Ukraine will never be a victory. Democrats are rising to meet the moment, rallying the world on the side of peace and security. We're showing the strength and we'll never falter. But look, the idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III.
Joyride is no longer just for motorcycle rides and courier services, as they've also entered the car-hailing industry, officially becoming a competitor to Grab. Let's check in on the operation so far of Joyride Car in this report from Laila Pangilinan.
Ride-hailing applications have been very convenient, especially during the pandemic. One example of this is Joyride. Commuters can use the app to hail a motorcycle ride and for deliveries. But aside from this, it has just launched a new service called Joyride Car, which was recently accredited by the LTFRB. Brushing off the competition by other apps with the same service, Joyride Senior Vice President Noli Ayala has this to say.
Now that there is another option in the market, all of the players are now forced to provide better service. And the winner eventually is simply the market. The riding public, the driver partners that will be provided better support, better incentives.
The latest edition also promises cheaper rates, especially during rush hour when fare increases. Ayala, however, admits that the consecutive oil price hikes is a challenge, and they also need to strike a balance between their patrons and driving partners. But to soften the blow of the hikes, Joyride constantly coordinates with authorities.
Nakasama kami dun sa pagtitipon, yung hearing ng Congressional Ad Hoc Committees sa General Appropriations Act of 2022. Kasama ang subsidiya sa TNVS drivers and operators.
They are also in talks with gas companies for a possibility of fuel subsidy to Joyride drivers.
Binubuksan po namin yan sa lahat ng mga kumpanya. Although right now, ang Caltex po meron ng.
Meanwhile, to ease the worry of commuters, the company assures that they provide a safe ride and that they comply with the health and safety guidelines at all times. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
A new game on Android supporting Vice President Leni Robredo's presidential bid is making the rounds on social media. Lugawan ni Leni is a simple game where players choose the right lugaw ingredients to make the customers happy. But some supposed trolls are leaving one-star reviews, commenting that everything should be pink in the game. And one of the creators took to Twitter to call out the alleged trolls. Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. President Duterte says electing a compassionate lawyer as his successor would be ideal. Unioil projects gasoline prices to go up by up to 7 pesos per liter this week, while the price of diesel is seen to increase by up to 12 pesos and 30 centavos per liter. And Olympic pole vaulter EJ Obiena will miss this year's World Championships after he was not endorsed by the PATAFA. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.